Welcome to Litodio. In today's episode, we're exploring a book that's both timely and timeless, The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. If you've ever felt weighed down by the pressure to be perfect or struggled with self-doubt, you're not alone. In a world where social media often shows us only the highlight reels of others' lives, this book offers a refreshing and empowering reminder: it's okay to be imperfect. In fact, embracing our imperfections is the key to living a wholehearted, meaningful life. This book isn't just about self-help, it's about self-discovery. Brown's research on vulnerability, courage, and connection is more relevant than ever. Whether you're navigating a tough season, seeking more authenticity, or simply looking for ways to feel more grounded, The Gifts of Imperfection offers powerful tools to transform your mindset and relationships. Here's how we'll walk through the episode. Introduction to the book. We'll start with a brief overview of Brené Brown's mission and why this book has resonated with millions worldwide. Chapter-by-chapter breakdown. Each chapter offers practical guideposts on how to let go of perfectionism, embrace vulnerability, and cultivate joy. We'll walk through them, sharing the core insights and how they apply to your daily life. Key takeaways. Finally, we'll wrap it up with actionable lessons that you can implement today to start living more authentically. So, get comfortable and get ready to explore how embracing imperfection can unlock a life filled with courage, compassion, and connection. Introduction. The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown invites readers to embrace their authentic selves by understanding that vulnerability, courage, and self-compassion are strengths, not weaknesses. In a world often focused on perfection, success, and social approval, Brown, a research professor and social worker, guides us through a journey of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. This groundbreaking work centers around themes of self-acceptance, resilience, and the importance of wholehearted living, Brown's term for leading a life marked by gratitude, connection, and the courage to be imperfect. Through her research, Brown discovered that the key to a fulfilling life is not avoiding vulnerability but embracing it as a part of our shared humanity. She offers 10 guideposts for wholehearted living that encourage readers to cultivate empathy, authenticity, and courage. The book's impact has been profound, resonating with readers across the globe and sparking a movement towards self-acceptance. Brown's approachable writing style, backed by years of research, has helped countless readers find comfort in embracing their imperfections. Here is a walk-through of each chapter of RHT The Gifts of Imperfection. Introduction. Courage, compassion, and connection. Brown opens by sharing the core ideas that underpin the book, the concepts of courage, compassion, and connection. These are the pillars of what she calls wholehearted living, a way of life that she says is possible when we let go of who we think we're supposed to be and embrace who we are. She also introduces the idea of shame, describing it as a universal experience that keeps us from feeling worthy. Right away, she makes it clear that this book is about moving from self-doubt to self-acceptance. Guidepost 1. Cultivating authenticity, letting go of what people think. In the first guidepost, Brown tackles the struggle many of us have with worrying about others' opinions. She emphasizes authenticity, being true to who we are even when it feels uncomfortable or risky. To illustrate this, she shares personal stories, like how she often felt torn between wanting to be herself and the urge to fit in. The key lesson here is that authenticity isn't about simply being yourself when it's easy. It's about choosing to be real over seeking approval, which often means being vulnerable. Guidepost 2. Cultivating self-compassion, letting go of perfectionism. Here, Brown dives into perfectionism, which she describes as the belief that if we do everything perfectly, we can avoid blame and shame. But perfectionism, she explains, is actually a shield against vulnerability, and it prevents us from connecting authentically. She encourages us to practice self-compassion by recognizing that we're human and that flaws are not only inevitable but valuable. One story that stuck with me here is when she talked about realizing that perfect isn't achievable and that aiming for it stops us from embracing the beauty of imperfection. Guidepost 3. Cultivating a resilient spirit, letting go of numbing and powerlessness. In this chapter, Brown addresses resilience, or the ability to overcome adversity. She discusses how we often numb our feelings to avoid pain, whether through work, food, or social media. But numbing doesn't just block pain, it blocks joy too. She suggests resilience practices like gratitude and spirituality, which help us feel grounded. There's a memorable part where she explains how vulnerability and resilience go hand in hand. We can't become resilient without first being open to life's challenges. Guidepost 4. Cultivating gratitude and joy, letting go of scarcity and fear of the dark. This chapter is all about the power of gratitude to shift our mindset from scarcity, feeling like nothing is ever enough, to one of abundance. Brown explains how gratitude is more than a feeling, it's a practice. She shares a story about realizing that joyful people don't necessarily have more reasons to be grateful, they just choose to actively practice gratitude. The key message here is that gratitude isn't just about counting blessings, it's a mindset that can help us find joy even in difficult times. Guidepost 5. Cultivating intuition and trusting faith, letting go of the need for certainty. Brown introduces the idea that intuition and faith can guide us even when we don't have all the answers. She distinguishes intuition from overthinking, suggesting that sometimes we need to listen to our gut rather than relying on logic. A story here that resonated with me was when she discussed how trusting herself and her own instincts was a challenge, but that it allowed her to navigate life with less fear. It's a reminder to embrace uncertainty rather than constantly striving for control. Guidepost 6. Cultivating creativity, letting go of comparison. This guidepost covers the importance of creativity as a way to express ourselves authentically. Brown argues that creativity isn't about talent, it's about making something that didn't exist before. However, we often stifle our creativity because we compare ourselves to others. She shares examples of how comparison kills creativity, urging us to lean into creative outlets without fear of judgment. The lesson here is that creativity fosters joy and connection, while comparison only leads to feelings of inadequacy. Guidepost 7. Cultivating play and rest, letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol and productivity as self-worth. In this chapter, Brown makes a case for play and rest as essential parts of wholehearted living. She challenges the cultural glorification of being busy and explains how burnout disconnects us from our true selves. She also introduces the idea that play, a time of doing things simply for fun, is crucial for mental health. The story about how she and her family started prioritizing rest and play really drives home the importance of balance. It's a gentle nudge to stop viewing rest as laziness and start seeing it as necessary for well-being. Guidepost 8. Cultivating calm and stillness, letting go of anxiety as a lifestyle. Brown addresses how calmness and stillness can help us manage anxiety. She talks about her own struggles with staying calm and shares how practices like mindfulness and meditation have helped her find inner peace. One big takeaway is her point that calmness is a skill, not a personality trait. It's something we can cultivate by taking time to breathe, reflect, and slow down. This chapter encourages us to embrace stillness instead of constantly rushing, which can reduce stress and anxiety. Guidepost 9. Cultivating meaningful work, letting go of self-doubt and supposed to. Here, Brown explores the idea of meaningful work, which she describes as work that brings purpose and connection. She challenges us to pursue work that aligns with our values, rather than what we think we should be doing. A memorable example she shares is how she herself grappled with finding her purpose, eventually realizing that her calling was in vulnerability research. This chapter reminds us that meaningful work isn't always about grand gestures. It's about making intentional choices that reflect who we are. Guidepost 10. Cultivating laughter, song, and dance, letting go of being cool and always in control. Brown wraps up with a guidepost that feels lighter but is just as essential: laughter, song, and dance. She shares how these activities allow us to connect with our playful, uninhibited selves, making space for joy and release. Her own experiences of letting go in moments of dancing or singing illustrate the liberation that comes with being open to these joyful expressions. The takeaway here is that these forms of self-expression remind us of our humanity and help us let go of the need to be constantly composed. Conclusion. Final thoughts on wholehearted living. In the conclusion, Brown brings everything together, emphasizing that wholehearted living isn't about perfection. Instead, it's a commitment to practice these guideposts in our daily lives. She encourages readers to remember that being imperfect doesn't mean we're unworthy, it means we're human. It's a powerful ending that reinforces the book's message of self-acceptance and compassion. The Gifts of Imperfection offers so many practical insights. Here's what really stood out. 1. Authenticity means being true to ourselves, not pleasing others. One of Brown's core ideas is that being authentic, living true to ourselves, is crucial to happiness. This means letting go of worrying so much about what others think. Imagine you're at a party and feel pressured to blend in, even though it doesn't feel like you. Brown would say that true authenticity means having the courage to just be yourself, even if it feels uncomfortable. The key takeaway? The more we try to fit into others' expectations, the less we get to actually be who we are. Authenticity means showing up as yourself, flaws and all. 2. Perfectionism isn't about doing things well, it's a shield we use to avoid vulnerability. This one hit hard. Perfectionism isn't about striving for excellence, it's a way to protect ourselves from criticism or judgment. Think of it like this: when we obsess over making everything perfect, it's often out of fear that people won't accept us otherwise. Brown suggests practicing self-compassion instead, accepting that we're human, with flaws and all. Next time you're stressing over tiny details, try asking yourself, am I doing this to express myself or to avoid judgment? Perfectionism isn't the goal, being real is. 3. Gratitude isn't just an attitude, it's a practice. This is a big one. Brown found that grateful people don't just feel gratitude now and then, they actively practice it. It's not about just saying thank you, but intentionally recognizing the good things in your life daily. For example, writing down 3 things you're grateful for each night helps shift your mindset from what's lacking to what's abundant. Brown says this practice helps us experience more joy and resilience, even when things aren't going perfectly. 4. Embrace creativity without comparing. Brown emphasizes the importance of creativity, not just as something for artistic people, but as an outlet for everyone. It doesn't matter if it's painting, writing, cooking, or even gardening. She reminds us that creativity is about expressing ourselves, not about being the best or even being good at it. For instance, maybe you enjoy doodling. Brown would say, go for it. Let yourself create without judging your work. Comparison kills creativity, but expressing yourself just for the joy of it is freeing. 5. Play and rest aren't luxuries, they're essentials. Brown challenges the idea that busyness equals worth. In a society that glorifies productivity, we often overlook the importance of rest and play. She argues that taking breaks and doing things purely for fun actually makes us more resilient and happier. Imagine a day off where you don't have anything scheduled. Instead of feeling guilty, embrace it. Play helps us recharge, while rest helps prevent burnout. So, take that nap or spend an afternoon doing something unproductive. It's good for your soul. 6. Cultivate calmness and let go of anxiety as a lifestyle. Anxiety doesn't have to be a default state. Brown suggests practicing mindfulness and stillness, whether it's through meditation, deep breathing, or just taking a few minutes each day to sit quietly. She points out that staying calm is a skill anyone can build, even if you're naturally anxious. For instance, if you're stressed at work, try taking a few deep breaths before responding to emails. This practice can ground you, helping to keep stress from running the show. 7. Trusting your gut and embracing uncertainty is essential. Brown encourages us to lean into intuition and faith, especially when we face uncertainty. Instead of overthinking every decision or obsessing over outcomes, she says to trust that we'll find our way, even if we don't have all the answers up front. It's like making a big life choice. Sometimes you just have to trust that your instincts are guiding you right. Learning to live with uncertainty is challenging, but it's also liberating. It's about feeling okay even when you don't have every detail nailed down. 8. Laugh, sing, and dance, even when it feels silly. Brown's advice here is simple: don't take yourself too seriously. She emphasizes that laughter, singing, and dancing aren't just fun, They're ways to connect with our playful selves and release stress. If you've ever felt self-conscious dancing or laughing out loud, Brown would say, embrace it. These are moments when you're truly alive. Next time you feel the urge to laugh or dance, go for it. Life's too short to hold back on the things that bring us pure joy. 9. Find work that feels meaningful, not just impressive. Meaningful work isn't necessarily the highest paying or most prestigious job. Instead, Brown encourages us to focus on work that reflects our values and feels purposeful. This doesn't mean you have to quit your job or take a drastic step. It could simply be about finding moments of purpose in what you do or volunteering on the side. The lesson here is that fulfillment comes from work that aligns with who we are, not what impresses others. 10. Embrace imperfection and stop hiding behind shoulds. A final takeaway, Brown reminds us that life is messy, and so are we. Wholehearted living is about letting go of the shoulds that weigh us down. I should be more successful, I should be more likable, and so on. She encourages us to embrace our imperfections, to let ourselves be enough as we are. When we stop chasing the image of perfection, we give ourselves space to truly connect with others and enjoy life. In the end, the Gifts of Imperfection isn't about becoming a different person. It's about letting go of the things that keep us from being real with ourselves and others. Brown's insights are like a permission slip to embrace who we are, lean into vulnerability, and live a more joyful, connected life. Thanks for listening to this episode of Litodio. We hope you enjoyed exploring today's book with us. If you're craving more insightful summaries and want to stay inspired, be sure to hit the follow button and subscribe wherever you're listening. We release fresh episodes regularly, so join us next time as we explore another impactful read. We'll link to the book in the description. Until next time, keep listening, learning, and growing with Litodio.